everybody, and welcome to Paper Reviews. I'm Astrid, and I'm joined here by Jose. How are you, Jose?
I'm good, Astrid. How are you doing?
I feel a little bit better now that I watched some wrestling.
Both had some hectic mornings today, so that was fun.
Yeah, I definitely need a coffee for this one. I'm not used to having pay-per-views this early, but it's good at the same time, though.
Yeah, it means we could take a nap after.
Yeah, definitely. I'm like, I like finishing my day early, and then once I'm done here, we still have stuff to, we still have the day to go over. We have here Bobby. Have a great stream, and Bobby Petito, Bobby Stats. Hello, friends. Hello, Bobby. Thank you for joining us here today. Yeah, I feel like overall it was like a fun pay-per-view, but I feel like a lot of run-ins and interruptions and distractions from. I feel like almost every match it feels like. How did you feel about it?
Yeah, I mean, there was definitely the theme of interference throughout the whole show. It felt like some parts were warranted, other parts were definitely expected, but I don't know. It was a mixed bag for me because some parts they definitely did execute it well, and other parts just kind of like, oh, we're still doing this. So, but I'm excited to kind of talk about which ones were great and which ones would probably do without.
Okay, and I have here, I guess I'm trying to figure this out. Parrish's baby calls. It's okay, Papa Parish.
Let's see.
And Magic Mike, hello everybody.
Yes.
And then let me put it here correctly. There we go. Chris, best. How are you, Chris?
Oh, I'm doing great. Just running off that watch along there, cutting it down to the wire with the time on the show though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It felt longer than I thought it was gonna be because I really wasn't expecting it to be this long, but at the same time, it didn't feel like an AW kind of long day either, which I like about it. So it felt at least like a nice timing.
Everything about the show flowed really nicely.
Yeah, they really did. We'll start with discussing with the kickoff show. We had Sami Zayn versus the Funko Pop JD McDonough.
I'm glad I'm not the only one that sees it for him.
No, after that, he just Funko Pop for me. I sometimes I even think about how to spell McDonough because I forget because I just want to write Funko Pop, but then no, I have to remember myself. But no, I feel like overall it was a good match. I would have liked Sami to be in the main show, not the kickoff, but still it was like the pop that he got was really great to like really start the show. They had a great back and forth, but I think more than anything, what stood out to me in this match was the fact that JD is trying to get involved with the Judgment Day, but then nobody comes in to save him, but he comes in to save people later on. So he's like, oh, he's lonesome here. But at the end, we have Sami Zayn with the victory, and I feel like it was a fun match. What did you think, Jose?
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely a good way to get the crowd riled up. I mean, Sammy's always going to do well in Saudi Arabia now that he's able to go over there. I think it's interesting that now he's using the haluva kick to set up the Blue Thunder Bomb as a finisher instead of the other way around, which I think actually works a lot better. But yeah, definitely JD McDonough fighting for Judgment Day's approval, definitely trying to combat his mommy issues, but obviously not the last we'll see of either one of them because they do make their way into the show later on. But yeah, it's a nice little fun kickoff match for what it was.
Yeah, what did you think, Chris?
Yeah, I'm with Jose on this one. This was just a totally fun match. I knew it was going to be a fun match right when they announced it because come on, it's JD, it's Sami. Both guys can put on a killer match regardless of who they're against. That Blue Thunder Bomb towards the finish was just picture perfect. I loved it. But I love everything Sami does, so
yeah, I don't know if it's maybe because of like lately with his Raw matches, I don't see him winning with the move, so I was not expecting the pinfall to happen with that move. And when it happened, I was like, oh, okay, I like it though. That's nice.
yeah, I'm with you, Astrid, on that one too. Like, I didn't expect him to win out the Blue Thunder Bomb because as it is, it's usually just the setup move for the haluva kick. So
yeah, either way, I'm happy because it's amazing winning. I'm a happy camper with that, no matter how he wins. So.
I'm wondering if that it's going to be a long-term thing where he migrates that over to a finisher, or if it's just kind of like a one-off. Oh yeah, no, my signature moves can win a match too. Like I think when Victoria won a match with the Spider's Web once instead of a Widow's Peak, it's just like, oh yeah, I guess that makes sense that could also win a match.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm all for it. Why not? And then next up, we had opening the pay-per-view with Seth Rollins versus Drew McIntyre for the World Heavyweight title. Again, this was another one that we still get the storyline of, Seth Rollins is back and everything happening with his back showing up here. I think one of my favorite parts was when he went in the top row for the superplex and you think he's going for the Falcon Arrow, but then Drew reverses it there. And the way he does it, I was like, oh, playing off of that back, it hurts me every time I see it. Mm-hmm. And there was a point towards like the end of the match that he barely got up for the count. And I thought it was a 3 count, but then I realized he had really kicked out. It was like super close. And just the overall concern over Rollins. I like there was a part as well when he like kind of played possum of like he was in the corner with his back and then he came up to Drew and he rolled him up when Drew came too close to him. Overall I enjoyed the match, and I think one of my my not favorite, but one part that really got me with my nerves was when I heard Damian's music and I went, no, don't cash in, no, please, I don't want you to lose it. It's just fun to like see all of a sudden we get Sami with a hoodie, just throwing him towards the post. Getting rid of the briefcase and taking it hostage for now. So Damian cannot cash in right now because he doesn't have a briefcase. What were your thoughts on this one, Chris?
Yeah, so that whole Sami stealing the briefcase from Damian, that gives Damian his next feud. So I'm very excited about that because this is a boost for Sami as well. This whole match, though, I loved Seth selling his back. It harkens back to his previous storyline. I kind of want him to continue on that path of selling the back until maybe somewhere magically he's fine, or he takes time off and he comes back and his back is fine. Drew was firmly believable as the monster in this match, and Seth being the underdog was firmly believable as well.
Yeah. What were your thoughts, Jose?
Yeah, no, I thought it was a great match. I like the fact that like there were as many false finishes as it was. It didn't feel like there's any sort of like face heel dynamic, which was actually kind of refreshing. Just very much good counter wrestling, using the finishers for false finishes. We saw Drew kick out of the stomp. We saw Sammy kick out of a claymore. Future shock pedigree. They're going back and forth. Literally, the only pet peeve I had with this match, and it's just me being a presentation guy, is why did Seth come out first? I can't stand when a champion comes out first in a title match. It had me thinking we were going to get broken dreams or something, but no. So, I mean, aside from that, everything I thought was a really good way to open the proper show. I like that Michael Cole called him the working man's champion. It was just a really good match of, oh, wait, is this actually going to be where it ends? But yeah, very good.
Yeah, like how they keep you at the edge of my seat with every single match. It's like, is this going to be the last one? Is this going to be the last one? It's like, I don't want it to be. But I knew with this one, I was going to be happy with either one winning. I'm a Rollins fan, but like we got with the video package beforehand, Drew said it himself, was like, I got my moment and there was nobody here to cheer me. So it's like, I want him to have that moment in front of the crowd and get that moment of people cheering for him when he does win the title. So it's like, that part is like, it made me think of like, it doesn't matter who wins. I feel like we all win at the end, with no matter, what route they decide with this one. And we have Bobby Petito. Who do you guys think will wrestle against Rollins at Survivor Series? I don't know, because I'm not sure if they will do Roman versus Seth, because I don't know. I feel like they won't for some reason. I don't know why I have a feeling about that.
I don't know what they're doing for Survivor Series, because they did announce that War Games is back. So something tells me that it's not going to be like a brand war necessarily. And if it is, then we're going to have to really see what happens. I feel like the one thing that probably will happen will be Judgment Day versus the Bloodline. So if it ends up being that Rollins is defending the title, I'm not sure if it would just be against someone from SmackDown or if they're going to try to like come up with a number one contender over the next 3 weeks.
Yeah, no, but do you have any?
I mean,
ideas?
I wouldn't be opposed to Seth Rollins being in the War Games if they do a brand versus brand War Games match. Maybe he's the heavyweight champion. He's pretty much the leader of Raw, or at least he should be with the world heavyweight title. So, wouldn't surprise me if they threw him in War Games.
I also keep thinking of Judgment Day versus like a certain individuals, like maybe a Sami Zayn on the other side, and the people that have been like wrong against them. And I don't know if I will have Drew kind of joining the Judgment Day on that side, and then having somebody like Rollins who almost cashed in by Damian Priest like on the other side. And I feel like you can add the people that have been wronged by Judgment Day, like a Cody Rhodes, be against them as well. So I feel like it works out that way too, because I don't think we see Rollins versus Roman. I don't know why.
Yeah. No, I still feel like going back to when they had Rhea on SmackDown talking to Paul Heyman, they're setting up like a stable War Games, which I think makes the most sense. Whether or not it's going to be just the men, or if they're going to have Rhea in there as well too. Maybe they have a woman join the Bloodline side of things, which would be interesting to see. So, I mean, the way I see it, it's probably going to be some form of Roman, Solo, and Jimmy versus some form of the Judgment Day, and maybe a handful of other people.
Yeah. I like how right after this we had Rhea coming up for her match, and she sees Drew just sitting down like disappointed about the loss, and she like shrugs at him like kind of like I told you so before she leaves.
Yeah.
And the way he looks at her, I was like, this was exactly what we needed to see, especially after the chat they had, I guess if you want to call it backstage on Raw, like where we see them in the background talking to each other, and it kind of gives you that clue of like maybe she's kind of giving him that moment of like, if you join us, I would have helped you and you would have won. That would have been a total different story if you had joined us at the end. So I think that was interesting to see. I did love like, yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, in that little 30 seconds just adds more to the mystery of what Rhea and Drew were talking about.
Yeah, as Magic Mike says, Tamina has been posting black screens today. I didn't notice that. I'm gonna have to look it up after this.
That could be interesting. We also saw Paul Heyman talking to Ava when he was in NXT. So definitely a few options for the women's side of the Bloodline, which is interesting to see. So
I just wouldn't add Ava to the match because I feel like she can't do much. She's still very green in the ring, but maybe she could be somebody that could assist the Bloodline from the outside somehow, which I could see happening.
Although, to be fair, in a War Games match, it's not really about being technically sound. It's just being able to like deal with the variables of weapons in a match and knowing not to get in the way of certain things. So I don't know. She might fit in with the Bedlam.
Yeah, we never know. They're dropping clues and hints here and there, so we never know which route they'll decide to go with. Right after this, we had the Women's World Championship. It was Rhea versus Nia versus Raquel versus Shayna versus Zoey. And I love about the dynamic between this match, having all these women who are powerhouses within the division. I love showing them out. And I like how they all got a moment in during the match in itself to like show out. I was like, this is exactly what it needed to be. And I kept thinking either Rhea's going to retain it or we get a surprise that we're not expecting. At the end, as she says, mommy will always be on top. Rhea still retains. I love the way it happened, but it also upset me in a way. And I'll say because I did like her, doing the riptide to Zoey, dumping her on top of Raquel, who was already pinning Shayna. But I'm already thinking, like, if I was Raquel, I wouldn't have gone in the way there because you knew they were coming down eventually. So you made yourself like in the middle of like the sandwich here and got squished there at the ends for like no reason in a way because, the pin got broken up that way. And I like how at the beginning we have Nia coming into the match and she's being like, no, everybody's gonna go for me because I'm the biggest one here. So I'm skedaddling out of here and getting out of harm's way. And another part that I really love, which I know that NXT does quite often, is when we have this multi-person matches, is that there was no moment that it slowed down during the match. We always had at least two people in the ring doing something. And I like that. It was like there was no like stopping. I did think it was funny that at certain times we had Rhea kind of pulling Shayna away from whatever was happening in the area, which I thought was funny seeing it on screen. She would like saved her like I think maybe 3 times or twice if I'm not mistaken. But even like the Tower of Doom, I think it looked incredible what they did with all the ladies there too. And even Zoe's dive that even I think the cameraman got hit on the way there too. I think that like the shot at the end was incredible. But overall, I feel like they killed it. I knew obviously they look a little bit choreographed in that way because there's so many people in the ring in so many areas. But either way, I think it was a fun match to like continue on after Drew and Seth Rollins and how the high was from that match. What did you think, Chris?
This match was the match I was looking forward to watching all night for the night. So they did not. I loved every moment of this match because I just love what they're doing with women's wrestling right now in the WWE. Rhea Ripley is just my favorite. Every time she's on when I'm doing the Raw watch along, you'll see me on screen sitting here quiet because I'm listening to what Rhea is saying on the screen. But this Fatal 5-Way was just bell to bell, straight up entertaining. I love this match. The finish, you're right there, Astrid. There could have been just a little bit more tweaking to that finish to make it work. But the right woman did come out on top, and every woman got their spot in. Every woman came out strong still in this finish.
Yeah, what about you, Jose?
No, I really enjoyed this match. And then similar to Chris, this was one of the ones that I was just like, okay, this is the one I'm kind of excited for the most. So, I mean, even before the match, we saw Rhea Ripley finally have like a really special entrance, which no woman has gotten at any of the Saudi shows, where she has like 12 men on the ramp, just waiting for her to come out and her presence, which adds to the mystique of how crazy, like, she blurs the line between like, is she just like the greatest woman star in the roster, or is she the greatest star in the roster? So that was nice to see. I love that we got so many cool spots. Shayna doing a triple submission hold was incredible. Like, we had her doing a Karafuda to Nia, we had a double Indian deathlock. There are a lot of good spots in between where they were focusing on like countering out of people's finishers. We saw Rhea take a Z360 that dive to the outside. Nia took a Tahana bomb. Everyone looked so strong. I just hate how slow Raquel was to go into that cover for the finish. I was joking about it on Twitter, saying it reminded me of the Great Snail Race from SpongeBob, Lightning Larry Luciano. But aside from that, it really was a fun 5-way, and I think it did a great job of highlighting everyone on the roster. I don't think there was anyone that comes out of there looking like they had a piss poor match.
Yeah, I was expecting Raquel to pull Shayna from there, so that way it will be Zoey landing and then Rhea pinning Zoey. So I thought that was gonna happen, but she's like, "No, I have enough time." I'm like, no, you don't. Why are you going in there? Yeah. But still, it's like it was a great match. I do wonder who they're gonna have to go against Rhea after this, because I know the other ones can just say easily, except for Shayna. It's like I didn't lose because I didn't get pinned, so that we get one of them going against her next time. I did get a little bit concerned though, because when Shayna got pinned, she was not moving at all when that happened. I was so scared when I saw. Then I saw her like kind of roll out a little bit out of the ring. So it took me that moment of like, oh my god, is she even okay? Because it was not moving a muscle when that riptide happened. But even still, like seeing the slow motion when Zoey lands, it just looks incredible. So I was like, that match was chef's kiss. I loved it.
Yeah. So the beauty of this match too is that going forward after this is any one of those 4 women still have their claim to challenging Rhea for the championship.
Yeah, very true. Next up, we had the greatest of all time, John Cena versus Solo Sikoa, with the overall story here being that John Cena's trying to avoid the Samoan spike, but can he really avoid it? I don't know. But I like at the beginning when he avoids it and trying to goes with the AA, but Solo just like, nope, it's not happening. And Solo even getting to the ropes, and when we know that moment when he does hit the Samoan spike, but then we have John Cena who have been doing the STF to Solo, like you can see the way it affects his hand afterwards after it happened. For this one though, I being that it's Cena, I was also expecting him to win the match, just to say, look, I got my victory after not getting a victory since 2018. So I thought that was more going to be the story. So at the end where he comes up and then Michael Cole, if I'm not mistaken, said something along the lines of like, Solo can add to his resume that he retired John Cena, and I went, wait, what? Since when was this a retirement match? It's like I never heard of that happening. I knew that his like streak was on the line, but I never mentioned that he was going to retire if he loses this. So I was like, wait, I'm confused about this. So I do wonder if we're going to see Cena after this because they mentioned retirement in there. I don't know, but either way, this was one of those that I don't want to say I enjoyed it too much because I feel like they had a good back and forth, but it's like it wasn't something that I was necessarily interested in watching though. What did you think, Chris?
I'm sort of in that same boat. I knew that this was going to be a star building match for Solo Sikoa, and that's exactly what we got out of this match. I don't know if I was a big fan of John Cena taking like 20 Samoan spikes to finish the match though, because if you're going to build a monster like Solo, and they did make him look monstrous in this match, if you're going to build a monster, make that Samoan spike finisher just that much more devastating.
Yeah, that's very true. What are your thoughts, Jose?
Yeah, this match did not keep my interest for the most part at all. Like, aside from like maybe John Cena breaking out a choke slam or doing a crossbody, I really didn't have anything to care about. I thought the finish was extremely redundant because we've seen when a Samoan spike is lethal, like back in the day with Umaga, may he rest in peace. Like, all you really need is one strong impact, especially if it's going to be something where it's a sudden move that stops all your momentum. Having him take 9 of them and then going into the pin does absolutely nothing for Solo, and it makes Cena look even worse than he already did, just based on the story they were trying to tell in the match. I don't think this is his retirement at all. There's no way in hell they would have him retire anywhere but a WrestleMania. Yeah. So them saying like, oh, we don't know how much longer he has left, it's probably just him getting ready to go back into acting stuff, because one strike is resolved and maybe another one is hopefully going to be settled along the way with SAG-AFTRA. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely not the last showing for Cena, but I mean, it does what they wanted it to do. He put over Solo clean, and now we just keep building with the Bloodline storyline.
Yeah, I just didn't like the way they just like mentioned as if this was the retirement match. I'm like, why would you say that when it wasn't even announced in that sort of way before the match even started? I think like if I were to retire Cena, that would be in a WrestleMania match, if anything. I'm like, I wouldn't do it in a Saudi Arabia show on like a random Saturday afternoon, to put it like that. I would make it like a bigger stage than that. So it definitely was unexpected. When I heard that line, I was not expecting that at all. I was surprised right after this. We had Miz TV. I'm like, on a pay-per-view, I was not expecting it, but I had seen already the rundown from Fightful, so I knew this was going to happen. They do have somebody who's a megastar in Saudi Arabia. I like the pop that he got when he came out, though. That was super nice. And I like how it doesn't take too long for Grayson to come here and be like, no, this is not the talk show you want to be in. And I like that he has that back and forth between them. It's like, no, but you wanted to go to the real talk show, like the hottest one, which is, the Waller effect. Not this one. He's like, no, it's Miz TV. And I like having that moment of doing the people's elbow there and even like kicking the Grayson the way he did. I think it was really fun just to watch this real quick. It's like a little break in between all the matches. What did you think, Jose?
Yeah, no, it was nice and wholesome. I thought it was a fun little way to like get Grayson more heat. I don't know if Miz is going to be babyface after this, but their actor looked phenomenal. He actually hit a pretty decent elbow drop. I will say I'm still partial to Snoop Dogg at WrestleMania and calling it in the ring because of the camp aspect of it, but it was a nice little fun in between segment that made everyone look a little good. So,
yeah, what about you, Chris?
Yeah, so this is where I actually had to step AFK during the watch along so I can go put my bird to rest because he was getting a little bit rambunctious. So I missed a good chunk of it, but what I did see was a lot of fun and entertaining stuff. I kind of like that we did get the dynamic of the two talk shows, the Miz TV from Raw, Grace, and the Waller effect from SmackDown, coercing with one another on the screen, and seeing Grace and Waller take the skull crushing finale into the people's elbow. I thought that was that was fun.
No, I think overall it was fun. Right after this, we had Mysterio versus Logan Paul for the US title. I hate to say it. I really hate to say it. I really do. I hate it with a passion. But Logan is like, when it comes to performances, he's growing on me because he's doing great. I was like, I can't say anything negative about his overall performance. Him as a person is a totally different story. I will not get into that. So he has a Puerto Rican. I will not say it here. But overall, like, he did great as his performance. There was a part that I seen it on Twitter quite a lot today. Was that moment that he literally caught Rey in midair, and the way he saved him, because if not, Rey would have hit his neck on the mat, and that would have been horrendous for this match because it was going so well. So seeing that, I was like, that was very a close call. Seeing it afterwards, I didn't notice that as it was happening. But I love the back and forth that they had here. Him, being trash talking and the crowd even booing him in the way they were. I think it was, he did a great job as a heel. And at one point, one of his friends comes in. I don't know who he is. I'm like, if it's not KSA, I don't know who it is. So I just know that he's one of his friends. He handed him the brass knuckles, and he has a back and forth with Rey. So the brass knuckles are just laying there. And all of a sudden, we get Santos from the crowd coming in, grabbing them. And he's running off Logan's friend. As he's doing that, he puts the brass knuckles right in the middle of the ring, where Logan is able to take him after Rey does a 619 to him. My thing about this match was I knew from the get-go that Logan was going to end up winning this, because I'm thinking from they mentioned during commentary, and I think they're doing a kickoff too. More than anything, is the man will take this championship everywhere once he has it, is what they mentioned. It's he will have it on his podcast, he will have it on any show, any boxing match, and I can see that happening. And I can see that's the reason why they decided to go along with this. And I get it from that marketing standpoint, because he's going to end up bringing that up so often wherever he does, whatever he does. So I'm not surprised about that part. I did like the part at the end where he's like, I had to do what I had to do, Rey. And then he's like, you know what you did. So I like the back and forth they had there at the end too, talking to each other. The celebration was a little bit too long for me. I just felt like somebody, maybe a ref or his friend, could have come in here and put the championship on him and just ended it there. But I just felt like he kept going on the ring around it and trying to put the championship on, and that he didn't. And then he had back and forth with the championship for a bit now. And I was like, can we just end this? He's done. So overall, that's the part I would have shortened that up a little bit. But other than that, we have Logan Paul as a new US champion, which is no surprise to a lot of us at this point. What did you think, Chris?
Yeah, this actually didn't surprise me, because I picked him to win about 2 weeks ago in the Raw watch along, and I said the exact same thing that the people on the pre-show panel were saying, that this would be great for the WWE as far as being in the public eye. He can take that title anywhere now. He can take it to his next boxing match. He can have it on his desk when he's doing his podcast. He could wear it when he's doing his vlogs. This was actually a very fantastic match. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Rey Mysterio knows how to work with these guys who are still essentially green to the business, like Logan Paul, and he knows how to expose their weaknesses and expose their strengths. And that's exactly what Rey did in this match, is he exposed the strengths of Logan Paul. Logan Paul did the same thing for Rey. This match, they gelled well together, and I wouldn't mind seeing them one more time.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if it happens one more time, to be honest. What were your thoughts on this, Jose?
Yeah, as the fellow Puerto Rican on the panel, I'm not too thrilled with Logan as a person, but I'll give the devil his due. He's good in the ring. I like the fact that he did save Rey on that moonsault where he almost had his head on the floor. It showed good awareness and I'm actually training to avoid stuff like this. Some cool things he did was that follow-away moonsault a la Shane Mercer that I've seen on the independent scene, but I mean, I totally understand why they did it as far as exposure and business side of things. I mean, it really does suck that as it stands right now, SmackDown only has one full-time champion, that being the WWE Women's Champion, which we will get into later. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be a real testament to see what are we going to do now, because either Roman's going to have to step up on his schedule, or we're just going to deal with the fact that if you want to see a champion, you have to watch Raw or NXT, maybe whoever is going to challenge for the women's title, because you're not going to see much of anything otherwise.
Yeah, I didn't think about that aspect too, that he's not even a full 10 champion either. Every time I see him, I just go, where's Bud Bunny? Give me a balance at least. I'm like, either way, he's doing great as a wrestler. I can't complain about him in that aspect. He's putting the time and the work in, and you can see it in his matches. It's like, and they have such faith in him because they're putting him with like the highest people that we have, like a Seth Rollins or Mysterio today. So that's when you can tell like they have faith of like he's growing and learning in the ring every single time. So I can't complain about that aspect. But like you said, we have now the Io Sky versus Bianca Belair for the WWE Women's title. This was a fun match. The only thing that bothered me was I know that we have, and I love this part that Io it's concentrating on Bianca's knee because that's what the injury was before she left and before she came back. So I knew that was going to be the target throughout the match. But I don't like those moments of like you can see her striking and kicking the knee and doing submissions to the knee, but there's certain points of like Bianca would like run, for example, right after that happened. I'm like, did she just hit you in the knee? Shouldn't be hurting right now. But then she would like it looks like she will remember a little bit later, like when she did the kick up, like, oh, I can do it. And then all of a sudden she's like, oh, it hurts. And they're like, oh, maybe she shouldn't have done that. Like those little bits and pieces. Like I feel like almost feels like she forgot about it at times and she brought it up a little bit later. But I did like the back and forth between these two. I love when Bailey comes in. I had a feeling Bailey was going to be the one because we had seen her in the videos through the night about Saudi Arabia. We hadn't seen Dakota. And then she's like, I'm watching her, I'm watching her. And then Io's just looking at her like, no, I don't need you here. And then not so long after that, towards like, I would say like the second half of the match is when we get Kairi coming in. And she goes against Bianca, and you can see her hiding on the other side of the ring as the referee's counting down Bianca, and she just manages to get in there before the 10 count happens. And I like the surprise here. I just didn't like the reaction that Kairi got. I feel like she would have gotten a better reaction if she would have returned in the US compared to Saudi Arabia. I think that's the only thing that bothered me about that aspect, because even if like she's joining the heels, having her return should usually cause a bigger pop than what the result she got today overall. I did like the storytelling here with Bailey at the end, because we do see Io and Kairi just celebrating in the ring together, but you see Bailey's face like worried, like she's seen a ghost. And for those of you that hadn't watched it beforehand, when last time we saw Kairi on screen, Asuka sacrificed her championship match to go save Kairi, who was getting beaten up by Bailey. Obviously, we don't have Sasha in the mix, but we do have that moment of Bailey going like, I'm the last person she saw before she left. I took her down, and now she's back. So now we're probably going to have that tug of war with Kairi on one side, Io in the middle, and then Damage Control on the other side, which I think is super interesting of the layers that we have within this storyline. So I'm really excited and looking forward to it. What did you think about it, Jose?
I love that we have so many layers to unpack with what's going on. I do wish that this was kind of saved for the stage, just because I know Saudi's never been like the biggest proponent of women in general, but I mean, it's always good to see Kairi back. I marked out, as anyone should. So I do like the fact that they are also acknowledging that Bailey is not exactly thrilled with the idea of Kairi being back in WWE with the way that she went out in 2020. I think it's going to be interesting to see if it's going to be something where she tries to recruit Kairi to join Damage Control because Dakota being injured leaves a void, or if it's going to be something where Kairi said, no, I saved Io, so I can take the championship from her, and seeing how that might play into things, if we're going to get a reunion of the Kabuki Warriors, or if that leads to what I hope a very bomb-ass triple threat match between Asuka, Io, and Kairi now that they're all on SmackDown. So, I mean, there's going to be so many great options for what can come in the future. I think Bianca looks strong as always. I do wish she did sell the knee a little bit more in certain parts, but I also like the fact that the way that they structured the interference was like different acts of the match. Like Bailey coming in wasn't the actual finish. We still had a good chunk of change for Kairi to come out, and that really led into the decision. But overall, I'm very excited for what's to come on SmackDown.
Yeah, and before we get to Chris here, I wanted to highlight this comment. I was talking to a friend that was in the crowd during the match, and he was like, we're all tired. I feel like if the match was earlier in the card, the reaction would have been better. Yeah, that's probably could be another point as well. I do think it just depends on the market. Maybe some people don't know who Kyrie is, so that's why they don't know how to react to her at this point. So that's why I think it would have been better to have her return in the US, do something similar to what happened today. But I like how she returned. The moment I saw that person, I was like, there has to be Kyrie. It can't be anybody else but Kyrie. And I like how they took a little bit of a moment before they turned around the camera. I was like, hey, I'm glad it's just her that I was expecting exactly. But I think it was like it worked out great in like the sense of how it happened. But I just would have liked a different reaction for her though. What did you think, Chris?
Yeah, I'm with you on this one. Kyrie's debut was in front of a crowd that she has never wrestled in front of. So nobody really knew who she was. So she might have been forgotten, maybe in that sense for this crowd. She should have debuted in any one of the North American crowds, American, Canadian, wherever. Bianca, as far as her knee selling, this has been a fault of Bianca's in the past. She's forgotten to sell her injuries during matches a plethora of times. But I marked out big time myself when Kyrie came back because I was front of the line when she got released in 2020. I was incredibly disappointed because Kyrie is my most favorite women's wrestler from Japan. So seeing her back in the WWE just makes me that much more happy.
Yeah, I'm overall happy because I feel like we have been mentioning, there's so many layers to the story and so many options and routes they can take with this one too. I don't mind seeing anyone, just don't ruin it for me, please. And we have Baszler coming. Hi, Baszler. Thank you for stopping by. I love kind of return when I was sure it was her. Yeah, no, I feel like a lot of people probably took a moment when they noticed the hair. It's like, is it really her? But yeah, I'm glad it was her too. Next after this, we have Damian.
I did the same thing. I'm like, is that Kyrie?
Yeah.
And then I turned and I saw that little smile she gave, and I'm like, yep, that's Kyrie.
After this, we had Damian Priest versus Cody Rhodes. This one is just, there's not much I can highlight in that aspect for me, if like things that happen in it though. But I like having like the beginning of the match, having Cody come in, having Damian come in, do the reckoning to Cody and the commentary table, because we know it's basically the same move, and then he hasn't used it in quite a while up until now that he's involved with Cody in the storyline. And as I suppose that I thought from the get-go, because we hadn't seen him all night as the pay-per-view was happening, but Baszler coming in here, reviving for the save and using that as a distraction, and then you think he's got it, but then JD is about to hit Cody, and Cody has him instead too. And we have Dom arriving, and when Dom comes in is when Jay's like, no, this is not happening. And that's when I feel like it involves more of the people that we would see for the War Games. So I think Jay would definitely be on the other side as well. And it took him 3 crossroads for him to pin Damian Priest at the end, but still we have Cody coming out with the win. For this one, I wish Damian would have won it, but I know this is on the road for like basically the recovery for Cody going into that title match at WrestleMania. So I feel like we're probably going to see him picking up a couple wins here and there as we can, especially on pay-per-views. So I feel like that was probably the main reason why it happened. But overall, I enjoy the match. I feel like they're going to go again sometime later, but maybe we have Sami going against Damian. As he said, he wants to take down every single member of Judgment Day one by one. So I'm interested to see who Cody will go against on this road to WrestleMania for him. What did you think about it, Chris?
Yeah, I'm with you. I think the overuse of the crossroads at the end was a bit much. Again, I'm a fan of just if you hit that finisher once, that should be it. The one part of the match I did not understand was Jay chasing off all the 3 members of Judgment Day. Even if he had a chair, there's still 3 guys on one. That just did not make a lot of sense to me. Overall, this match was entertaining, though. The Damian Priest finisher, I forgot the name already. Astrid, I apologize on that one.
It's the Reckoning.
The Reckoning, yes, on the table. Fantastic. I loved it. But overall, I picked Damian to win as well, but my heart was telling me Cody as well.
Yeah, what about you, Jose?
Yeah, I mean, it was fine for what it was. I didn't think Damian was going to win, just given the fact that he already lost momentum from the failed cash-in and Sami running off with the briefcase, and the fact that all chances of Judgment Day interference got thwarted by Jey Uso. But yeah, I mean, I'm just ready for Cody to move on from everything with the Judgment Day. I don't even think it's really worthwhile to have him like go up against like Finn or whoever else. I think he needs to kind of find some footing while he's in this lull of if he's going to go after Roman to finish the story or if he's going to go after Seth. Then maybe have a detour into a different story. But yeah, I mean, I'm also a big person of just like, if your finisher is your finisher, one time is enough. I hate like the fact that we had 3 crossroads, 2 Cody cutters and a partridge in a pear tree for the match, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
I think just probably his way of sending a message of like, no, this is my finisher, not yours. So I'm not gonna do it once, but 3 times so you learn your lesson. That's what it felt like to me at the end. But still, it's just a fun match. Yeah,
but he does that all the time. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, Yeah, it doesn't surprise me either. And then we have here for our main event, we have Roman Reigns versus LA Knight for the undisputed WWE Universal Championship. I hate to say it, but it's just like it's the same old stuff. So it's nothing new in that aspect. We get Solo coming out towards the second half of the match, and you can see him distracting the referees and the officials that he has towards the ramp. But then we have Jimmy coming in here assisting Roman, dragging him out to give him that moment. I was like, I feel like LA Knight didn't look bad because I feel like he had a good performance in the match. But it just it's a bloodline match. It's something that I expected to happen. Roman coming in here and then Solo being involved and Jimmy and Heyman. And in the end, La Fala Roman wins because that's what we get all the time. So it's like that to me, that was just like the same old routine, just with LA Knight instead. I know he was not going to win, but I was still like, I would have liked for LA Knight to win. That's a different story, but it is what it is. It's a bloodline match. So it's like, I knew it was going to be the same old kind of thing, just rehash with just him instead. So it's just, it's okay. I know this was going to be the main event because it's Roman, but I'm like, I would have liked if Rollins and Drew would have been the main event because it was more fun to watch. And I was more hooked on the storyline than with the bloodline at this point. But yeah, we still have Roman Reigns as champion, which is nothing new for us. What did you think, Jose?
Yeah, it's very much Roman wins, LOL. I knew from the second that this was announced, it's like, okay, he's going to win here because why would he drop it in anywhere other than WrestleMania? The same problem they faced with John Cena and just... LA Knight, he's doing great at getting over. I think he's well-deserving of a rub. I just feel like this was the wrong place and the wrong time for him because now he just looks weak, just like everyone else has that's gone up against Roman. And it probably didn't seem like we're going to have a real contender for the Universal title anytime soon either. So Roman gets to keep padding those stats for this historic reign that is never going to end, it seems.
It's never ending at this point. I'm just waiting for the moment we get that new champion so that it becomes fresh with new contenders and new stories, because we feel like no matter who goes against Roman, we know that he's going to win at the end, unless it's Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania. So it's like we already expect him to keep that championship at least until Mania. If he keeps it at Mania, that's when I'm going to cry and be like, I cannot watch SmackDown anymore, at least whenever the Bloodline comes out, because it's all the same stuff again. But I'm just hoping WrestleMania is the end. Please let it happen. What about you, Chris?
I'm kind of in that same boat again, Astrid. I'm tired of the same old when it comes to Roman's finishes, and that's why I would not mind if LA Knight comes out on Friday and says, "Hey, I want a rematch, but I want it in the cage. I want to see if you can beat me on your own." Because let's face it, LA Knight did kind of have Roman's number in this match up until the interference happened. LA Knight did stand his own ground, and he is a bona fide star coming out of this match still. I do feel like there is a championship match somewhere down the road and a championship run somewhere down the road for LA Knight after this match now.
Yeah, I feel like you definitely have to keep going with him, and now that people are popular with him right now, you have to keep going with that. So I feel like they do have to do something with him, and I would do it soon before people start, turning away from him, thinking like he's not going to get anything. But I just see how it goes later on after Mania. But overall, I think it was a fun pay-per-view for a Saturday afternoon-ish for us in the Eastern side. So, I enjoyed it overall. Looking forward to what they do for Survivor Series, since we have War Games coming up too. Do we get only, a brand one, or do we get a men's and a women's? How is that going to work? So I'm definitely curious of what their plans are moving forward with this. I feel like, as Chris was saying earlier, they're doing great with the women's division now as well. So I feel like there's so many possibilities for War Games too, which I'm looking forward to. But yeah, overall it was a fun pay-per-view. What did you guys think overall on this?
Yeah, I think overall it was a fun show. For the matches that I enjoyed, I really enjoyed, and the ones I didn't care for, I'm not offended that they were on the show by any means, but it does really get me thinking about how they're going to go about Survivor Series. I think we are going to have a men and a women's War Games, although I don't think they're going to be very brand-centric. I think they're probably going to be focused in stables. So with that being said, we're probably going to have maybe Rhea not involved in the women's War Game match and probably defending the title. I feel like we absolutely are going to have some form of damage control, and maybe if they wanted to combine it with stuff going on in the tag division, have Chelsea and Piper on their team go against Charlotte, Bianca, Asuka, and then hopefully if they're not going to pull the trigger on Alba and Isla, probably be Shotzi and Michin, I would hope. So
Yeah, and as we have here, match, like I feel like Asuka, Charlotte, Bianca versus Io, Bailey, and Kyrie. I wouldn't put Bailey with Kyrie yet. We'll see how that goes after her reaction when we get her on SmackDown to that, because she definitely looked like she has seen a ghost today. What about your overall thoughts on it, Chris?
I actually kind of like the idea of Io, Bailey, and Kyrie, but as you said, Astrid, I do want to wait till Friday to see what Bailey's reaction actually is to Kyrie returning. This pay-per-view is actually something I might want to go back and watch, and I normally don't want to go back and watch Saudi shows because sometimes I feel a little guilty watching them as it is. But overall, this show, it gets an 8 out of 10 for me. It was very entertaining. I had a lot of fun watching it. Every match just flowed together very nicely. Even the Miz segment, which was kind of an outlier for the show, flowed nicely with the show, and it gave us that nice little break in between your opening card matches and your main event matches.
Yeah, that's very true. And now that we're off to the last part, don't forget, wrong one. Don't forget at rogueenergy.com and using the code OLEPODS to get 10% off your order. And for our guests, first, Jose, where can the people find you?
Find me everywhere, Jose on the Air. My show, my guest at this time, as well as my creator show, Content Creation, on my YouTube channel of the same name. Be on the lookout for some stuff coming very soon. You might see me doing more wrestling stuff on a weekly basis. Can't disclose details yet, but keep your eyes out.
Yes, I love the teaser here. What about you, Chris?
All right. Oh, you did find my socials. Okay, you can find me at chrisdamage83.com on YouTube, Twitch TV at CBRS_entertainment, threads.net at cbestfilms83, facebook.com chris.best83, tiktok.com at cbrs.entertainment. You can catch me here on our local establishment on Monday nights. This week, I'm doing the hosting duties myself for the Raw Watch Along, and on Tuesday night, 8:05, where I will also be hosting the doing the hosting duties on my own as well, 8:05 Eastern for Turnbuckle Talk.
Yep. For me, if you haven't looked at it before, I did a little graphic for it, but I have the new merch for you to wear. So if you go on my Twitter and my Instagram, you will find a new shirt. So it might post, so now everybody can wear it too. As you can find me here on Taking Over on Tuesdays, talking NXT with Ed. If you haven't checked it out, they did talk about Loki over the weekend to him and Andre. So if you haven't checked that out, go back and check it out here on our local establishment. You can find me on X and Blue Sky as astridpizarro, Instagram and Threads astridpizarro20. And like Jose, I have stuff coming up too. I just have to be quiet about it until it goes out. So you'll probably see some stuff coming out soon. So it's really exciting time for that as well. A lot more writing coming up with Body Slam too, so definitely watch out for my socials whenever I do publish anything. I do want to thank Jose and Chris for joining me today for paper reviews, talking about Crown Jewel, and thank you everybody that was in the comments and watching us today. If you haven't yet, make sure you follow OLE on Twitch, so that way you get notified whenever we go live. And if you want to subscribe, you can get the emotes too if you subscribe if you haven't yet. And if you go back on YouTube, you can also subscribe to the channel. Click on the bell to be notified when we're live, when we upload anything new. We have, I think, a video almost on a daily basis at this point. So you always get something happening with the channel, which is exciting. But we want to thank everybody for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Tired of being pushed around and not